Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Samuel Gomez. I'm a woodwind doubler in Florida, and I play with several groups around the state. This huge honking instrument I have in my hands is a B-flat bass saxophone. The purpose of this video is going to be how to make this instrument easier. This is not a history lesson. This is not me shredding on bass saxophone. This is how to make this instrument easier, because goodness gracious, does it have a lot of quirks. I'll give you a brief history. This saxophone, the bass saxophone was conceived in 1842 by Adolphe Sax. He hiked with this instrument from his workshop in Brussels all the way to Paris, where the World Fair was being held that year, to play the Hector Berlioz piece Chant Sacré, and it had a bass saxophone part. And it was an instant hit, and it enjoyed some use in classical music from the early 19th century, well, I should say mid 19th century. It enjoyed very wide use in Dixieland bands and jazz bands at the beginning of the 20th century, all the way up to World War II, where there was a ban on making musical instruments with a certain amount of copper in them or something like that. And obviously, bass saxophone, that's a whole frick ton of metal. So imagine what all of this metal could do for the war effort. So the bass saxophone kind of died off around World War II. It had a brief resurgence in the 60s with big bands like Stan Kenton. There were some parts written for bass saxophone in the Kenton band. Dude was just really weird. And it has recently had some modern resurgence with saxophone choirs like the Nuclear Whales. They have a conch bass saxophone, that's really cool. If you want to look them up, Nuclear Whales on YouTube. It's cool as heck, man. And in some rock groups, it has gained a very wide following from the band Moon Hooch, Michael Wilbur playing bass saxophone. I know there's a guy in Fishbone that plays bass sax. I forget his name. Dude's weird as heck. But and today it is used primarily in saxophone choirs, high schools, universities, that kind of thing. And this is what this video is geared towards. Maybe somebody who is just picking up the bass saxophone and has never had any prior experience with the instrument. And they're like, well, crap, I have this huge saxophone. I've never played it before. It's nothing like a baritone sax. In reality, it really isn't. You have a lot of modern advancements in baritone saxophones, like, for example, with Yamaha, the double octave keys on the bow up here, and better ergonomics. And unless you got lucky and your high school or university has a Selmer Series 2 bass saxophone, which is for all intents and purposes a modern instrument, even then it still has some venting issues because of the way the bass saxophone is built. But this is what you're probably going to get stuck with. You're probably going to get a vintage American long wrap instrument like this. This is a Conn from 1928. I got very lucky with this instrument. It is set up very, very well. And this is probably what you're going to end up playing on. So I'll first go ahead and talk about mouthpieces, because that makes quite a big difference in response, along with some fingerings later on in the video. So you're probably going to get stuck with something like this. This is a Bisher bass saxophone mouthpiece. You can see the B right there for bass. These are very good mouthpieces when refaced. I know a lot of classical guys use them because there aren't a whole lot of overtones. You just get a lot of core to the sound. They have rather long facings and usually very small tip openings. So the pros to that is you get a nice center to the note. There isn't going to be a whole lot of cracking. The cons are you either have to have bass saxophone reeds or modified Barry reeds. If you slap a baritone sax reed on there, straight out of the box, it might not work. That's what I've had with this mouthpiece anyways. There are some very good alternatives to, say, one of these. You can get a modified baritone sax mouthpiece, which is what I have done. This is a Woodwind Co. The facings on these are already usually pretty long, so you can use them on vintage baritone saxophones very well as bass saxophones like this. And you do usually have to modify your reeds just because there's usually quite a large amount of meat on baritone sax reeds. So I will go ahead, I'll give you a little bit of a diagram here. So here, let me go ahead and grab this. So this is a baritone sax reed that has seen better days and is dead for all intents and purposes, so I have made a diagram about it. Alright, so to make your bass saxophone reeds easier to play, one, you can either get synthetic reeds, which is what I used to do. This is a Barry Woodwind soft. These work very well on metal mouthpieces. For example, if you can find a Jody Jazz ESP, those are really good. I used to use one of those on a Bisher bass saxophone, which is, for all intents and purposes, the same saxophone. And the Jody Jazz DV bass. And I think Fred LaBelle makes a bass saxophone mouthpiece that's made out of metal. So synthetic reeds on metal mouthpieces usually work very well. On these older mouthpieces, I would not use Barry or Leger or fiber reed, but if you can make it work, great. That's not for me. But anyway, back to this diagram. So here, let me scoot this chair up a little bit. I do not have a stand for this bass, so yikes. So you have your tip right here. You're going to want to take a little bit out of there. That will ease up your articulation. There's the heart. If you really have some response issues, maybe take a little bit out of there. You got these channels right here. Those will ease some vibrations. This line right here, gracious, is what I like to call the bite line. That's where you have most of your vibrations up here. It also includes the heart, so if you want to lower your heart a little bit, maybe take some material out right there. It brings your heart down a little bit. It brings your bite line down to right about here. So all of this up here is going to be vibrating a lot more. Maybe sand back here just a little bit. That tends to help with lower notes, that's what I found. But anyway, yeah, I'll go ahead and let you take a screenshot of this, or wherever you're getting your content, either your phone or your computer. Alright, that should be good. Alrighty, so moving on to how to make this instrument easier. Obviously, I talked about mouthpieces and reeds. Moving on to fingerings and voicings. So, obviously the bass saxophone likes a lower voicing because it is a bigger instrument. On some of the way, that was good English, on some of the way this instrument is built, with the way the tone holes are placed, you might just have some notes that are really, really flat, no matter what you do. So just do your best, that's what I can tell you. For example, low B flat and low B. With these mouthpieces, either a Con Eagle or a Bisher, they're usually going to be really flat. Your low end's going to be really flat. So do with that what you will. This is my setup and what I have going on, and for all intents and purposes, it's what you might be dealing with as well. So I still have the same problems with this mouthpiece as I do, say, with this, but do with that what you will. So anyways, so starting on low B flat, we're just going to start bottom of the horn, work to the top. From low B flat to from low B flat to high E. E flat. I have seen some basses with high E keys that are right there. Some of the vintage basses like Con, I think it was only Con that did it, but right before the Great Depression had some that went up to high F, so a high E and then a high F. So anyways, starting on low B flat, that note is usually pretty good. It's usually pretty in tune. I did a lot of tuner work with this instrument, and it's probably what you're going to have to do as well. These are the results that I got. You're probably going to have to do the same and just sit down with a tuner and just write everything down and keep mental notes. Because setups, the way your key heights are, that'll vary the intonation. They tend to like medium to medium open key heights on your lower stack, just to get them to speak well, because that's the thing about bass saxophone. It's very easy to make this instrument incredibly stuffy, and that is the actually I think that goes for all bass saxophones, whether it's your vintage long rap Americans or your French raps or whatever the heck no blaze are, which is like a mix of like a French and a American rap. It's kind of weird, but anyways, so your low B flats are usually going to be pretty okay. Low B on this instrument was about 22 cents flat. The only thing I can say about that is higher voicings. So just raise your tone position. That's really about it. The low C, for me, that was about 6 cents flat. Just use higher voicings. Your C sharps, those were anywhere from 16 to 9 cents flat. So again, just higher voicings. For a lot of your lower notes, you are just going to need higher voicings in general. That's just how these instruments are. So, C sharp. Alrighty, this is where on all vintage, well actually I should say mostly on all bass saxophones, period, D and E flat, that's what you're hearing about. Oh man, I don't like playing bass, yeah, or the octave key D doesn't work, or the octave key E flat doesn't work. You'll see a lot of people just use the palm keys, which are okay. You have, take that moving away later. That goes more for middle D. But you can have some stuffiness on your low D and your low E flat as well. So what I like to do is I like to use the low C sharp key. Look at that, like that big old stinking tone hole right there. That thing's huge. So that's a big old vent key right there. And it helps with intonation as well. You can make your notes a little bit sharper. So this is low D with and without the C sharp key. Same goes for E flat. It's not quite as big of a difference, but you can hear some stuff. The cool thing about these vintage basses is you have the ability to do fork E flat. I don't know if you can see that right there. So, and the differences in those fingerings are incredibly minimal. Maybe one might be a little bit flatter, a little bit sharper than one or the other, but that's for you to find out. E on this instrument, it was about 22 to 17 cents flat. E on, I'd probably say all bass saxophones, but more so for vintage long rap American bass saxophones, is a very stuffy note, just in general. I'll go ahead and play it for you right now. You're gonna be like, wow, that's stuffy. A pretty stuffy note. So if you add the E flat key, that helps a lot. So you have your D, your E, and then add the E flat key. And that will vent it quite well, make it a better sounding note. So here it is with and without. It definitely is a lot more free blowing. It does bring the pitch up a little bit, and overall I think it's a better sounding note. Concert F. I'm sorry, not concert F, this is in B flat. F. It was about 2 cents flat. Just some manipulation with the embouchure and it should be okay. This is a relatively strong note on the bass saxophone. Compared to E. And if I try to push E too much, it'll crack. And I can give that F a lot more air than I can give that E. The E will crack way before the F will, as you could tell. F sharp. This is another one that is 25 to 20 cents flat. So I have all my notes right here. It's a large, sprawling mess. So bear with me here, as this video is going to be a large, sprawling mess. But I'm sure in the long run, it will help you. F sharp was 25 to 20 cents flat, depending on, kind of just with both fingerings. So here's that F sharp. Another very stuffy note compared to that F. You can also use your fork, which is right there. It is a bigger pad than, say, your normal F sharp. It's a bigger pad, so it might be venting might be a little bit easier with this F sharp fingering, but still, I'm gonna alternate between the F sharp fingerings real quick. So, yeah, one is a little bit more free blowing, but they're still rather flat. So what I like to do is I like to combine the fingerings. So your standard F sharp fingering and then add your forked F. So kind of a weird thing going on. I got a Spider-Man thing going on right there, but that. And it brings the pitch up quite a bit. So I'm gonna first do your normal F sharp, forked F, and then I'm gonna add them so you can hear the difference. So that went a little sharp, but it's obviously a lot easier to bring stuff down than it is to bring it up. So. Alrighty. G, that was about 7 cents flat. And again, embouchure manipulation, higher voicings should take care of that. You should be straight. Your G flats, G sharps. It's about 15 cents sharp. So you're gonna have to lip that down a little bit. Just lip it down. A, 5 cents flat, manipulation of the embouchure. Your B flats. This is another one that is incredibly stuffy, so you have a couple fingerings that you can use. So, the one that you're probably going to end up, starting off with is your side B flat. On most instruments, depending on the way that this is vented, the way that the key heights are, my side B flat is rather closed, so maybe if I had it opened up a little bit more, it could help a little bit, but still, this was about 25 cents flat with this standard fingering. So, let's see if I can open it up a little bit. that does help with the pitch a little bit. I might just have that opened up a little bit. But there's two others. If you are blessed enough to have a bis key, which I do not, that will raise the pitch quite a bit. You don't have to worry about having to deal with that pesky side B flat. But what I am using right now, until I get a bis key added to this big boy, is I'm using 1-in-1. I'm using flute fingerings. And I'm sure your band directors or fellow saxophonists have said, don't ever use 1-in-1, that's a flute fingering. On bass sax, it's perfectly acceptable because it is a better note and it raises the pitch. So I'm going to swap from side B flat to 1-in-1. All right, you old guys will certainly hear the difference. Like I said, it's about 25-30 cents of a difference. So, and that might be a little bit sharp, that 1-in-1, but again, it's easier to bring stuff down than it is to bring it up. Let me see. Not concert, gracious. B, that was a pretty good note. That's a pretty strong note on the bass saxophone. C, it's about 8 cents flat with the standard fingering. Side C is a superior fingering to standard C on this bass saxophone, on long wrap. I'm sure it's on all bass saxophones too. I'm going to say that a lot, just because I don't have a whole lot of experience with French wrap bass saxophones. So, not a huge difference in pitch. The side C does bring it up a little bit, but it's just a better sounding note in my opinion. So, C sharp. In my notes here, I have boat horn, and I am not exaggerating. I have boat horn at the very bottom. So this definitely sounds like an ocean liner. Ocean liner moment. Cruise ship moment. That one was, see, did I actually write any notes or did I seriously just write boat horn? Wow, I'm stupid. Okay, so it sounds a little sharp, so maybe just drop it a little bit. It is a very strong note, but overall, I don't think it's too terribly out of tune. So there's that. This is where everybody gets you. Octave D and octave E flat. So a lot of things can help this, and a lot of things can hinder it. So if you just have, let's say, again, an old style bass saxophone mouthpiece, or really any bass saxophone mouthpiece with a small tip and a long facing, which is most of them, you're going to have some issues with response. So some ways to help that are, one, maybe a bigger tip opening. That can help just a little bit. Some baffle, that might help a little bit. Just a little bit. You don't want a whole freaking step baffle on bass saxophone. That's gross. And some modified reeds. So if you have a whole lot of meat on your reed, it's going to take more time to vibrate and it's going to take more time to respond. So you're going to have that signature crack. So I don't know, mine might do it. So yeah, it does. It's not a clean start. Some ways that you can fix this, like I said, mouthpiece, reeds. I found that like putting some pantyhose, some classical saxophonists do this on their neck, but some pantyhose right here on this first octave pip helps with that just a little bit. Just take a little tiny strip, wrap it around the octave pip, make sure it's over the octave pip, and tie it. That's what I did with my Bisher bass, and it was freaking amazing. And some more vent fingerings. So for both D and E flat, let me see where I have this. Both of those were 35 cents flat, so yikes. Again, some more embouchure manipulation will help this, but venting the C sharp again helps a lot. So this is with and without for D and E flat. in tune. So why would you not use that vent right down there? Why? Because nobody tells anybody, because nobody knows what the heck to do. They just say, use your side keys. Use your palm keys. So let's go ahead and do a comparison real quick. So we'll do normal with no vent, side keys, palm keys, and then with the vent. So I'll let you be the decider. Some people like the palm keys more. Me personally, I like using the vent C sharp just a little bit more. It sounds like there's more chord to the note, and I feel like it's a little bit harder to make it out of tune, because you have a lot of flexibility with these palm keys. Maybe not so much with the side ones. With the vent. Yeah, definitely not as much flexibility, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. We'll talk about that when we get up to high D and high E flat. Let's see. E2, E2 Brute. Anyway, octave E, that's pretty okay. You can add, again, the E flat key, but it's not as big of an issue as it is on the bottom. So not as big of an issue. F, about 5 cents flat. Again, some embouchure manipulation will help with that. When you get up into this register of the bass saxophone, it really is. It's a very pretty sound. A lot of people say that, in your bands and orchestras, if you have baritone sax in an orchestra, which I think there's maybe one piece that I know of, you have your Barry's doing the grunt work, but Barry is obviously a very lyrical instrument if you let it be. Same with the bass saxophone. The overtones on the bass are very strong, depending on what mouthpiece you have. So your altissimo is very easy to access. So for example, obviously I don't have a high E or a high F, but I can, and those are very clean. I don't even have to articulate them. They're very strong. They're very, very strong notes. So I'm not quite sure where I was going with this. Oh yes, this range of the instrument is very, very pretty. So let's see. G was, I just skipped F sharp. So F sharp, it was about the same for the bottom register. So I'll go ahead and alternate between the fingerings. So normal, forked, both. Obviously a little bit sharper with both of them, but lip down. Let's see, G, octave G was about 12 to 10 cents flat. So I'm trying to think of what I can use. I tried using the fork F sharp. That helped a little bit for just that key, along with 1, 2, 3. Adding that, it helps a little bit. So we'll do it with and without. Makes the note a little bit stronger. It affects the pitch a little bit, but mainly you're just gonna have to do some embouchure work or just maybe adjust that. But anyways, G sharp was see, anywhere from 9 to 6 cents flat. So don't have any vent fingerings for that. I've tried using the forked F sharp. It does not work at all. It doesn't, I shouldn't say it doesn't work. There's no discernible difference. Octave A, that was pretty okay. I just have a smiley face written down. For some of these that were pretty in tune, I just wrote smiley faces. But you can make it a better sounding note by using the G sharp key, just to vent it a little bit better. So it does affect the pitch a little bit, but options, because it might be flat on your instrument and on your setup. So these are just options. Again, with B flat, octave B flat is about 16 to 12 cents flat. So same thing, you know. Use 1 and 1. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly acceptable. I'm not going to shame you for it. If your buddies do, just tell them to frick off. You're not playing bass saxophone, are you? So it's a more flexible note, which means you have to be a little bit more careful. So it does like to go sharp sometimes, but just bring it down. Let me see. B, that was pretty okay. C, let me see. I have the side key. The side C is a better note again, but it does tend to be a little bit sharper, so same thing. Just bring it down in pitch. C sharp. From C sharp up to E flat, it tends to get ridiculously sharp. Just incredibly sharp. I'm talking like 35, 40 cents sharp. On my old Bisher that I had in college, I would finger E flat, high E flat, and it would play it perfectly in tune E. So do with that what you will. So here is the C sharp, just open. Rather sharp, incredibly sharp. So what I have written down here is you can use both C fingerings. So that means 1 and side C, and it will bring it down significantly. So here it is with and without. Or I should say without and with. That's almost a D at that point with the sharp one. So using 1 and the side C key, it will bring down the pitch dramatically. And I find it helps a lot for me. Your palm key D, again, a very, very sharp note. These up here are incredibly flexible. That can be good, and that can be freaking awful. So what I like to do is I like to add the your standard C right here. Nobody tells you this stuff. That's why I'm here. You're welcome. And then for your high E flat, I just have question marks written. So on most bass saxophones, there's an option, or where the way it's adjusted, where you can just hit your E flat and not both of them at the same time. That might help because I think it has to do with both of them venting at the same time. So just try that. Just try venting it. I mean, just try playing it like that, and then drop your voicing a little bit. So let's see if that helps. And then I guess I can show you E and F. Not that you're ever gonna need to play this high on bass saxophone, but if you overblow E with the octave key, you can get a very, very pretty high E. And if you overblow F with the octave key, you can get a very nice F. Alrighty, so those are all of the vent fingerings that I know of that I've experimented with. I think that's just about it. If there are any questions, please put them in the comment section. I'm sorry this has been a long, sprawling mess, but I hope this helps somebody in the long run. Bass saxophone is a very, very fun instrument if it is set up well, if you have the right equipment, which doesn't have to be incredibly expensive. If you can find a pickle barrel mouthpiece and maybe send it off to a refacer who can touch it up, make everything nice and flat, and maybe adjust the facing curve just a little bit, get you some Barry sax reeds and work on them a little bit, you know, you're good for maybe $200, which is a lot for maybe a broke college student or a high schooler, but it's a lot better than going out and, say, dropping money on a DV, or, you know, going out and trying to buy your own bass sax. That's certainly more expensive than just, you know, watching this video and seeing where it'll take you. Hope you all play loud and play well. Have some fun on this big little honker of an instrument. It's very fun, especially, obviously, you know. All that fun, honky, low stuff. But yeah, play loud, practice well, and if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to drop them in the comment section. Again, sorry this video has been so freakishly long, but I have not seen a YouTube video that really just explains the bass saxophone and all of its quirks and vent fingerings and things that you can really help out with, or that can really help. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.